You've heard a lot of reasons why cancer is spreading. Let's look at some of the major arguments. Number one is that we're getting older, so cancer is inevitably on the rise. You hear on the news that we're living 20 years longer than people did in 1900. But that statistic is wrong because it includes infant deaths, which were very high in the early 1900s, and brings the average way down. Let's take a simple example using just two people. The first person lived to be 90 and the other lived to be 70. Taken together, their average lifespan would be 80. Now take two other people. One lived to be 90 and the other only lived to be 1 year old. Taken together, their average lifespan is just 45 years old due to the inclusion of the infant death. The correct way to compare longevity is to look at people who lived to be at least 65 in 1900 and today. In fact, we're really not living that much longer than people did in 1900. Yet only a small fraction of people died of cancer back then, compared to today. If you look at Okinawans, who are one of the oldest populations in the world, their cancer rates are extremely low compared to ours. But if they migrate to the U.S. and adopt our diet and lifestyle, they soon have the same rates of cancer that Americans do. In other words, getting older is not the reason for our explosion of cancer. Another argument commonly made is that environmental carcinogens are the cause of our cancer epidemic. But that's not true either. The low rates of cancer in Okinawa, for example, cannot be explained by a lack of environmental pollutants, as Okinawa is heavily industrialized and polluted. Don't get me wrong, environmental pollutants can cause cancers. As one author said recently, if we were cannibals, our meat would be banned from human consumption. Yet despite this pollution, only about 5% of our cancers are caused by environmental carcinogens. All you have to do is look at Okinawans, Seventh-day Adventists, or other groups who live among the pollution yet have very low rates of cancer. Another source of cancer-causing agents is medical radiation. One expert has estimated that 75% of the incidence of breast cancer is caused from medical radiation. And although mammograms and other sources of radiation do contribute to breast cancer, they are not the primary cause. Why? The explosion in breast cancer started long before the widespread use of mammography. Some people also like to blame cancer on genetics, but genetics accounts for a small percentage of all cancers, only about 2%. Except for this small number, what the vast majority of us are inheriting from our families are bad habits, not bad genes.
I'm Italian. My family, what runs in my family are strokes, heart attacks, high cholesterol. Well, that's not what runs in my family. What runs in my family is eating pasta, bread, brojol, sausages, and meatballs. That's what runs in my family.
You're neither doomed by a bad gene or saved by good ones. You can have a bad gene, but it does not mean it will become active, because most bad genes are not active unless the right conditions appear in the body. When this happens, they wake up and cause trouble. And most of these awakenings are the result of diet and lifestyle.
There is a genetic propensity to all diseases, but most people wouldn't realize their genetic propensity if they didn't stress their genes with unhealthy habits. Like, for example, some families, people get lung cancer when they smoke. You know, in other families they get emphysema. So our lung cancer and emphysema in smokers due to genetics. You step back and you say, of course not, they're due to this stupid habit of smoking. And it's the same thing with cancer and heart disease and diabetes. Yes, you have some genetic strengths and weaknesses that you present to life, and when you do things to yourself like smoke or drink alcohol or eat rich foods, those genetic strengths and weaknesses may express themselves. But if you never did that, you'd never find out whether you had a tendency to breast cancer, prostate cancer, colon cancer, diabetes. You would never find out those things because those problems do not occur in populations of people who eat a diet based on starches, vegetables, and fruits. You just don't see prostate cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer. Nobody has them. You know, hundreds of millions of people, nobody has them.
Since bad genes awaken due to changes in the body's environment, you can put them back to sleep with changes in diet and lifestyle. It's been shown, for example, that women carrying the mutated BRCA1 gene can reduce their risk of breast cancer up to 65% by simply losing weight. In fact, there are many other ways that women can greatly reduce their risk of activating bad genes through simple diet and lifestyle changes.
So even though you have the genetic predisposition, lifestyle will dampen that completely, and the gene does not have to manifest.
What do you think about healthy women getting preventive mastectomies in order to avoid breast cancer?
You know, it's almost I find it hard to even talk about because it's absurd. You know that, anyway, that would be like saying everyone, as soon as you finish your periods, you go in and you get all your ovaries and your uterus is out, and men should have their prostates removed. I mean, that's not the problem.